Hello and welcome to Bedroom Studio Corner. In this video I'm going to be walking you through how I mix a deep techno dub mix. So I have this track here. I'll just play it from here. What I did was, when I made it, I was doing some mixing already, so then I just discarded the whole mix and I was gonna start a new one. So you must always keep in mind that your first mix is not usually the last mix you can do, or the best mix you can do. Don't let that discourage you if it doesn't come out. What you can do is that you can save that mix and you can still come back to that track and do a second mix. You can have like up to 10 or 50 or 100 mixes on the same track, just saving them, when you go ahead to file and save as new version. So you can keep doing different mixes. You reset, you do a different mix, you reset, you do a different mix, until you find the mix that you're happy with. So I'm gonna start with the drums. I have my drum pattern over here. I'm just gonna start with my kick. I'll solo it and then I'll send it to a track. Okay, here, track 1. So immediately I can hear that my kick has a lot of top end. I'm just going to use FL Studio's native plugins because you might not have the other ones I have. I just want to show you with the stock plugins here. So I have a parametric EQ here. Let me just shelf the high. I want it to be really thumpy. Switch that off. That sounds okay. So the reason why I started with the kick, so I can set my, like I would say, my ceiling, because the kick is going to be the loudest element playing in this track. So I just want everything to come under the kick. So usually you must leave headroom of about 6 dB. As you see here, it's hitting on 6. So now I can just add everything else under it, so I know I have enough headroom for the mastering stage, because when you're doing mastering, you're adding EQs and compression. That's only going to be lifting gain as well. So the kick is sounding okay. For now, I can add a little bit of compression. I can add a little bit of compression. I'll just use the FL multiband. Check the presets. I can just use this comp 2.9. There we go, just to give it a nice thump there. Great, now let's check out other stuff. Okay, that's the clap. Load that to a track. Load an EQ first. As you can see, this clap is just hitting on one frequency here around 1K. Okay, so with this clap is sounding really empty. It needs something. Now this is where I want to talk about sends. Now I can just make a send here on insert 100. I'll just add fruity reverb 2, and then I can just select the clap here. I'll just rename clap. Then I can just raise this here. Increase the size of the reverb. Just lower it a little bit. and I feel like it's not really hitting at the proper place with the kick. They're not really working together nicely. Just select all of these, switch my time, bring it back a little. Much better, much better. Now it's hidden in time. Now let's check on this hat. Send it to a track. First and foremost, EQ. So I would advise that you, on your tracks, always add an EQ first, so you can check on your parametric EQ about frequencies, because certain instruments, like especially with samples, they come and they bleed a lot in other frequencies they're not supposed to be. And so this EQ is powerful, that it can tell you which frequencies are being affected, which frequencies you can cut out and everything. So just check on frequencies, and you can cut out, you can carve your sounds before you add any other effects. Just EQ first. EQing is very important. So let's check out this hat. So you can see it has a bit of some frequencies around the mid-range here that we need to cut out. So I can just give it a shelf. You can hear that those frequencies are now gone, and then all we just have now is the high, mid, and the treble. And then we can, oh, it was already routed to this track. I'll just switch that off. And all these tracks were on a bus. Let me remove the bus here. Just remove that. Then I can manually do the busing myself and show you why this helps. Okay. Now our drums are in a nice space in our mix. Let's check on the other elements as well. I just have to pan it to the left just to balance it out, because my hat is kind of leaning to the right. So if I pan this to the left, it gives it a nice balance. Let me send that to a track and basically do the same as I did with the hats. I can just send this sample as well to number 4, where the open hat is. Yeah, that sounds fine. Check this one. I think I can send that to the clap. To the clap. A little bit of low end in it. Right there. Just cut that out. Let's give this little sound its own track. Now when it lights up this bright, it's probably too heavy, so it's always a good idea just to cut it off a little bit, because the problem I've usually had with these percussion sounds is that you ignore them when they are very narrow like this, and in the EQ, then when you play it at a very big sound, or at a gig or something, then it's really loud. It's like ear piercing. So it's always, you know, a good thing to control it and just make sure it's not too hard. It's not cutting too hard in the frequencies. All right. Okay, so that's our drums for now. So now what we can do is we can group them. So you can hold Control Shift and just select these tracks, and you can select the track, the extra track that you're gonna create the bus on. Then you can just right click over here and track routing and create submix. Then I can say drums. So now everything is going to this bus over here. Let me just change the color. I'll make it blue. And then I'll send this to the master. Oh, this guy's missing. Okay, let me send him to the clap. So on the drum master, I can also send a little bit of reverb to it, just to give all the drums a nice roomy feel as well. I can just add a little bit. Now, as you can hear, the kick does not do well with reverb, so you can do a low cut so that the kick doesn't get so much reverb into it. If I can bring this back, you can hear the kick is also coming out, but you can do a low cut so that the low end doesn't get affected, and the kick can still, you know, sound natural. Then you just reverb all the other frequencies. That's also a great tip. So now I can move on to some of these pads over here. That's a run in purity. Just check my EQ first and foremost. Cut out a bit of the lows, a bit of the mid-range over there, because I don't want these pads fighting over frequency. Now let's check out the second one. This one just sustains. Let's add it to a track. Parametric. Check out some of the low end. Okay, let's let this one dominate more. Back here and here. All right. Check out the sound. Now, usually with these plug sounds, what you need them to do is have a lot of high end and not so much mid range and not so much lows. So what you can also do to make them real powerful, you can compress them. I can add a multiband compressor here, and I'm just going to use a preset. I can choose, let's say, a lot of compression, like a COM6. Okay, I see it already has kind of a delay on it over here. I'll just go ahead and switch that off, that delay. The chorus is fine. It has a little bit of EQ as well here. I'll leave that alone. That's fine. And now, so what I'm just doing is setting the tone for my sounds right now. And then what I'm going to do after this is that I'm going to now mix them together. Okay, now I can send that guy to a track, load up my EQ. Now I'm lowering all this mid-range so that my pads and my other sounds can also have room, and I'm giving it a little bit of bass here because it sounds nice with the bass, and a little bit of highs as well. So this section is more for the kick and the bass. I'm gonna have the main bass, so it's just kind of ranging here on the low, mid, and the bass, just to support the other stuff. And then that's it. Now let me see what else I have here. Okay, I have these stabs over here. They sound great already. Just cut out some of the lows. No, we can switch off that reverb and give it our own. Okay, you know what? Scratch that. This reverb is nice, but it's not as long as the original was. Yeah, that's nice and long. I'll keep that anyways. Okay, so we have everything. What the sample is. Okay, that's just a conga. You can just put that there, and we can route it to our drums. That's fine. So now I can get to the vocal. I'll just make a loop. Over here. Then I'll just solo.
Let's go deep. Deep. Deeper.
Well, it's not the best vocal. It's got some background noise and everything over there. So what I'll do first, I'll just EQ. Now, for this vocal, I don't want so much high end, and I need also a bit of some low end there because it's kind of a bassy voice, and the mid range is going to be fine. And then I'm gonna put a little bit of compression on it. I have the vocal here.
Deep.
And I'll also add a gate kind of to cut out that noise. You can hear there's some noise going on here. I think Maximus has a gate over here. Okay, it's very low. I'll just raise it. Okay, let's add a bit more gain. Still cutting him off. Okay.
Deep. Deeper. Let's go deep. Deep. Deeper. Deep. Deeper. Let's go deep.
I can add a limiter.
Deep. Deeper.
Let me bring back that gate over here.
Deep. Deeper. deep, deeper. Let's go deep, deeper. Let's go deep, deep, deeper, deep.
Okay, there we go. Then I can just lower the EQ back.
Deeper.
Then I can add some reverb over here and give it its own reverb. Now I have to lift the width.
Deeper.
Cut out some of the lows, make it a big room, and we can lift the decay so the decay is long.
Deeper.
Okay, it's already sent to another send. I'll just label this reverb. I'll just say REV, and then this one is going to be the delay. So then I can just add a delay here. I'll add a delay 3.
Deep.
And then I'll add to this delay.
Deep.
I'll do a
deeper. Let's go deep.
Let's make it a quick.
Deeper. Let's go deep.
Let's do a high pass. Do a cutoff over here.
Deeper. Let's go deep. Deeper. Deep.
Okay, let's keep the low pass on.
Deeper.
I think that's fine. So now let's play all of it back so we can try and mix everything together.
Really good.
Oh, we got a loop here of some shakers. Okay, there. We'll load them to our drums master. We'll load them to our drum bus. They add nice texture to the whole track.
Let's go deep. Deeper.
Oh, and the bass. Let's check out the bass as well. It's got a bit of delay on it. Let's push that off. Oh, that's off. There we go. And we don't need that reverb as well. Let's just switch it off there. And we can add a little bit of multiband compression on it. I can use, let's just say, a warmer, just to enhance some of the low mids, just to give it a bit of low mids there, so it can come across when you're playing it like on a phone without any sub. You can kind of hear it because it's sustaining. Just make sure it's not. And just make sure it's not really high, because then it's gonna affect all the other stuff there.
Deeper. Let's go deep.
add some delay and some reverb to sound over here. And I also have a reverse crash.
Deeper.
And a snare that I used as a crash. Let's give it a little bit more delay. Okay, the timing of that one is not so good, so I'll go ahead and add a delay on it. Much better.
Let's go deep. Deep. Deeper.
Let's lift that conga, it's not really coming across. And we can give it a little bit of delay. We can send it to this guy.
Deep. Deeper. Feel it get deep. Deeper. Let's go deep. Deep. Deeper.
Ah, we got some guests over here. Just load that to a track. Yeah, that guy has some low end. You must always check out for these samples that have a lot of low end, because they'll always disturb your kick and your bass. Not to take out so much low out of him, but let's just kind of dip a little bit out. As you can see here, the whole track is kind of a little bit loud now, although we were keeping on that 6 dB headroom. So now we've got a little bit of a lot of transients coming out with everything playing. So now we're gonna get to kind of the pre-master stage where we can kind of control the overall sound of the whole track. First and foremost, let's just get to that drum bus and put a little bit of control. You can add your multiband compressor, and we can select, well, let's just say, because with the drum mix, with a drum bus, you don't want to compress a lot, so I could add this 1.9 over here just to keep things in check, and just control the mid-range over here and a little bit of the highs so the kick dominates. And just control the highs as well. Add a parametric EQ and just see where we're lacking. Now you can see right there over here the subs. Our kick is not so heavy in the sub range here. That's a good thing for our bass. So it can cut across really good. So now we can add a multiband again on the master, and then we can just load up let's say 2.9. Okay, let's kind of let's lift these thresholds, and we can come down on them by frequency. And lift the ratios. Without this and with it, it kind of levels it out and gives it a nice sound, a nice level sound, so that you don't get these spikes and these transients that just want to fool around in your mix and, you know, just sound terrible. Sometimes you'll take them out because you'll think that your mix is sounding terrible, but it's not. It's just some sounds that are being naughty in the mix there. So this helps you kind of cut them out. So some people use Sound Goodizer. Now I do not really advise people to use it so much. You can use just a little bit of it, but you really won't hear so much difference. But then why I don't like using it so much is because I can't see what it's doing and I can't change it. That's the problem with that. So I like to add in simple stuff I know I can be able to explain, you know. That's if someone actually asks me what I did or whatever. But anyways, let's just load an EQ here and see where we at. Now, I usually like to do a sweep of frequencies after a mix, so I can check, because most of the time when you're making tracks, there's always going to be a frequency that is like really heavy, because maybe you've stacked so much sounds and they concentrated on that one frequency. So you just need to check it out so it's not heavy too much on that frequency. Like I know around 600 here in this mix, it's kind of sounding bad here, so I'll just lower it a little bit, 3 dB. Right here around 500. Just remove a little bit of mud out there. So now what we can do is we can add a limiter. Check for preset. We can use, you know what, let's just lift the gain and our ceiling is right there. I'll just say minus 0.1 dB. That's fine. Just to get it to be really loud. You see, it's actually limiting the kick. So as you see here, this is our kick and our clap, and now this is everything else that's coming in, the other sounds. As you can see, the kick is still being dominant here, so that's why we had that 6 dB headroom, so that everything else is not really squashed in the mix, but it's coming out nicely. So this limiter is only limiting the kick to kind of tone it as well, so that it's not really spiking out. So this is usually something I do with a lot of tracks, so you can try this out. Just firstly isolate your sounds, tone them, make sure they're not leaking into frequencies they're not supposed to be in, and then afterwards you can mix everything according to each other and just put them in the right place in the mix, pan them, and you can go a whole, a lot further with your mix afterwards. So just get your tone first, then mix everything together, and then you can move on to your master. So this was me just showing you how you can do this, how you can achieve this. But also remember, you do not have to always mix yourself. You can always send to people like me. You can send me your tracks if you need me to help you on the mix, and then I can work it out. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe and leave a like. And let me know in the comments how you usually work on your mixes. What's your process? Do you EQ first? Do you compress afterwards? How does your chain look like, and what sounds the best for you? And then we can just talk. I'm X and I'm out. Thanks for watching.